Welcome everyone to another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on my channel GBoot2786. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you all are doing blessed and safe this evening. Of course, we're in the middle of a pandemic of the coronavirus, but also of police brutality and racism that is going on across this country. And there's been a wave of protest, and as we speak right now, Atlanta is getting ready to burn, sadly. And I saw that they set the Wendy's on fire where that brother Rayshard Brooks was killed. So let me just say rest in peace to him and his family. Before I begin this recording, just shout out to his attorney as well, L. Chris Stewart, who's I think is doing a great job. He pointed out a lot of hypocrisies with the arguments that the officers were going to make earlier today. But I'll save that for another story. But again, rest in peace, Rayshard Brooks. But at this time, guys, you guys know, or probably if you didn't know, this man right here is famous. Well, he's famous in our community in particular because he is a character actor. And we've seen him in countless movies, from Next Friday, Friday After Next. He's been in House Party 1, I believe. He played, he had a very brief speaking role as Shireen's, I guess, older brother, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been in, of course, he was in Friday After Next and Next Friday as Pinky. This is Clifton Powell. And Clifton Powell, of course, he's done countless movies. He's been in Ray. He's been in all the hood movies. This is the guy you want. Like, if you want the bad guy, arch bad guy, this is the guy that plays the villain. And great character actor. Great actor. And I'm thinking of him tonight. And shout out to Your World, Harvey Superboy, because he was trying to figure out who this guy was earlier in his Spike Lee video. Now, speaking of Spike Lee, the reason why I bring in Clifton Powell was a few years ago. Clifton Powell, sometime in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, or 2010, Clifton Powell got involved in a beef between Tyler Perry and Spike Lee. And if you remember back then, Tyler Perry, who was coming out with his, building his own studio at that time out here in Atlanta, he had a deal with the Superstation TBS to put all of his shows on there. So House of Pain and Why Did I Get Married, Meet the Browns, all of those shows debuted on TBS. And of course, he got kicked off he left rather, and went to OWN, switched with Oprah Winfrey, because if you remember, the Boondocks really clowned him. And of course, the Boondocks was on Cartoon Network or Adult Swim. And Tyler Perry didn't like that. But Spike Lee, around that time, and that's when his career was really in a slump, I'm just being honest with you, he had made some comments about Tyler Perry. Now, he was calling his movies, I'll play it for you right here, cooning and buffooning. So here it is right here.
President, they say, oh, that's great, but then we'd look at our numbers. But if I had interviewed Whitney or Oprah, the numbers were much, much bigger. There's a school of thought that says, oh, we're not diversifying our imagery enough in our community yet. There are certain images, whether they be in plays or movies or music, that we flock to, whether we like to admit it or not. I'm wondering, is that just a black middle class saying, oh, no, that's not what we want, but the lot of us wanting it?
Well, I mean, this is a complex subject, because each artist should be allowed to pursue the artistic endeavor. But I still think a lot of stuff that's on today is coonery and buffoonery. And I know it's making a lot of money, breaking records, but we could do better. That's just my opinion. I mean, I'm a huge basketball fan, and when I watch the games on TNT, I see these two ads for these two shows, and I'm scratching my head. you know, we got a black president. You know, are we going back to Mantan Moreland and sleep and eat?
Yet, if those films, I mean, we're talking about Tyler Perry at this point. No, I mean, look, I'm not saying we're talking. Let's not give them fodder for tabloid. I'm not saying we're talking about Tyler Perry, but those are the shows that we're talking about. If we're talking about that, and we look at the numbers that come and see his movies, that view the shows on TBS, my question is that in fact maybe what Black America wants to see?
A large part.
Look, I hear a lot of no's and ahs, but a lot of people watching it.
Here's the thing, though, because we've had this discussion back and forth because when John Singleton, you know, people came out to see Boys in the Hood, and they did Rosewood, nobody showed up. So a lot of this is on us. A lot of this is on us. You know, you vote with your pocketbook, your wallet, you vote with your time, sitting in front of the idiot box. And the man has a huge audience, and Tyler's very smart. You know what he's done. He started out, you know, with these plays, and church buses would pull up, packed, and he's parlayed it into a, you know, bought his own jet. You know, you can buy a jet, you got money.
All right, so I'm not going to play all of it, but he was talking about Tyler Perry. Obviously, he was being interviewed by Ed Gordon. This was for Black Enterprise magazine. He was at a convention, it looks like, and you know, it caused a lot of controversy a little bit later because Tyler Perry even responded and told Spike Lee to go to hell. Now, apparently, they've patched things up because Spike Lee is actually named on Tyler Perry's studio lot. He has an actual studio, I believe, with Spike Lee's name on it, as well as some other black luminaries. But that was controversial, of course. And then Clifton Powell got in the middle of it. So, reason why I'm going back to this for a reason. Just hang with me. But this is Clifton Powell was being asked some questions on Russ Parr's morning show about this beef. Now, I have my issues with Tyler Perry, but for our purposes and for the subject we're going over, there's a reason why I'm playing it, and here we go.
It's the Russ Parr Morning Show, and ladies and gentlemen, he's the legendary Clifton Powell. Legendary Clifton Powell. He's a bad man. You've seen him in everything. You've seen him in Mama. Where's my toothpaste?
Well, I missed that one.
You missed that one?
Yeah. Anything
Mama,
else?
Mama, where's the nightstand?
Oh.
He been in every play. He been in every movie. He was in Ray. This dude's done it all. He was in Ray, the 20 funerals. He does it all. Clifton, first of all, you don't turn down work, do you?
Hit that button.
God dang it, Russ.
Listen.
Russ,
Can you behave, please? Can you behave?
He just walked in.
We can't take two, sir.
Yeah, it's live radio.
I cannot with him this morning.
Hey, everybody out there,
They didn't hear
Clifton
it.
Powell, ladies and gentlemen.
please pray for me.
Let's give him a
Let's
little
start
hand.
again, Russ.
Yes. Can we please start over and
Take two. The legendary Clifton Powell in the studio here, ladies and gentlemen. Give him love.
Yes.
Yeah. Clifton, how you doing, man?
Russ, I'm embarrassed now.
So you're an actor. What do you think about the whole Tyler Perry Spike Lee feud?
To be honest, I don't like Spike Lee. And for everybody out there got a problem with it, call me at the radio station. Spike is worse than any one of the mans that we talk about. Yeah, because back in the day, and I hope Spike is listening, because I'll beat your punk ass.
Oh, my.
For real. I don't like Spike, for real. I'm just saying it. I have never said it publicly on the radio.
Wow.
I never said it publicly out. But Spike is a hater. When he was doing all his movies, Sam and all them guys know he's a hater. He kept all the money. There was lawsuits against him. Spike had an opportunity, and I shouldn't have said it like this, but I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Tell the truth.
I'm from the streets, and you gotta take care of your people. We talk about what the man does. Spike need to go sit his punk ass down and stop talking about Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry was homeless about 10, 12 years ago, and Spike wasn't writing him no checks. I think it's wrong, and I shouldn't do this, but I don't like Spike Lee because I don't like his politics as it pertains to how he deals with African Americans. I've auditioned for Spike several times. He kept all of us waiting for hours. It was insulting. He's made people fly across country, pay for themselves to come to auditions. Spike is the worst, and he needs to go sit his punk ass down. You got a problem with it, Spike? I'm right here, up northwest, and I'll beat your punk ass.
I'm gonna tweet it to him. Let's get it going.
And that's the truth. And I never said that publicly.
Right.
He's never hired me. I don't really care because I would never want to work with him because when you a black person and you grow up the way we did in the 60s, and maybe I'm wrong, but Tyler has found his genre. The problem with being African American in film as a producer, as you know, Russ, you've taken heat for stuff. You got to be so worried about stepping on toes. We have just a few outlets in terms of the dimensions that we are as a people. And sometimes, you know, I've taken a lot of flack for playing a lot of tough guys or mean guys or whatever. I play pastors, I play doctors, I play lawyers, and we zero in because there's not enough dimensions of what we do. When you get white movies, you get maybe see some people in Congress, you may see some people in the hood. You see the dimensions. So when a black filmmaker comes out like Tyler, he focuses on one genre. He's catching a lot of flack because some of it is quite niggerish and buffoonery. You know, but some of it is fun. And some of it is fine, and some of it goes too far. But he still has an opportunity. He's hiring a lot of African Americans. You know, I have some issues with Tyler in terms of how their pay rates. I don't know what their pay rates because they never hired me, but I still respect him. I go see his movies. On the other hand, Spike to me had an opportunity to turn his whole thing around in the early days and disrespected a lot of us as actors, and that's why his career has fluttered and bombed, and nobody goes to see his crap. So that's how I feel.
All right, that's Clifton Powell, and we'll,
I know I'm gonna catch hell for that.
Okay.
I'm right here in South.
We gotta roll out. 35 and ticking. Clifton Powell, I'll hire you. That's my man right there, Clifton Powell. Let's give him a round of applause. Coming out May 20th, man.
All right. So that was from a few years ago. I think it was back in 2011 with regards to Clifton Powell and Spike Lee. And yeah, that's why I put Clifton Powell up here. Now, Clifton, of course, he's had his foot in his mouth a couple of times because he was talking about Bill Cosby and so forth. But that's another story that I'll have to do. If you just go look online at what he said, we was on Sister Circle, he was throwing a little shade at Cosby. But Clifton had actually beaten a sexual assault claim charge himself that he was falsely accused of. Now, I'm not here to knock this brother, Clifton Powell. I respect him as an actor. But, you know, and like I say again, that's a different story, and maybe we can save that for another topic. But, you know, Bill Cosby obviously was low-hanging fruit, which leads me to Spike Lee. Now, Spike, just recently I was checking out an article that he had gave that was taken from an interview that he did. I believe it was posted in USA Today, and he's apologized now because he was defending Woody Allen. And of course, as you know the story, if you're not familiar with, but Woody Allen has been accused by his daughter, Dylan, of sexual assault. And of course, this happened in the 90s. Woody Allen was investigated for it. The prosecutors and the state didn't find anything. But that has not stopped her from claiming that he sexually assaulted her. Not even her brother, Ronan Farrow. And although Ronan Farrow is a bit of a weasel when it comes to doing journalism, I think he's a fucking jerk. You know. But nevertheless, Woody Allen was never charged with anything. But we all know, because I'm even young enough to remember back in the 90s when he married his freaking stepdaughter. Now, that was Mia Farrow's daughter, and the reason why there was no abuse charge claim against Woody Allen was because, number one, he and Mia Farrow were not officially married, though Ronan Farrow and Woody Allen's wife are legally recognized as brother and sister. Now, yeah, it's real sick. Father's Day is real strange over at the Allen household. Now, I've never really been even a big Woody Allen fan because, frankly, Woody does not even put blacks in his movies. He even said once is that I would put blacks in it. You know, I wouldn't put black people in my movies if they didn't belong or something along those lines. So I'm not really interested in Woody Allen. But you film a movie like Paul Mooney said, Woody doesn't have any. This is Paul Mooney's words. He says, "How you be in New York and don't have one, you know what, one nigga in there?" This is Paul Mooney saying that in his joke. In New York of all places. In New York of all places, he doesn't have a black character. But I don't trip off that because I don't really watch his movies too much. But here you have Spike Lee. And Spike Lee defended Woody Allen. Now, when I was mentioning Bill Cosby, as you all remember, or may not remember, Spike Lee has accused Bill Cosby of attempting to steal or had stolen his idea of School Days to create a different world, which was outright bullshit because Bill Cosby had created a different world in 1987 and School Days didn't come out till a whole year later. And if you saw Nicole's view with her interview with Andrew Wyatt, he highlighted, number one, how hypocritical Spike Lee was because all he did was praise Bill Cosby even while this whole thing was going on. You know, he at one point tweeted out support for Bill, if I'm not mistaken, but now he did a complete 180. And ever since he's got that Oscar, I noticed that Spike Lee has been completely different. He has literally gone Hollywood. You know, and Spike was someone who, you know, I had great respect for. In some ways, I still do have respect for him because I remember being a 6-year-old boy when my mother took my brother and I to see Malcolm X. And I didn't know what to expect seeing this movie. But I remember distinctly watching the opening credits. And, of course, the opening credits show the burning American flag. And it's interposed with clips from the Rodney King beating. And that was the first time I even understood what happened with Rodney King. You know, how he was being beaten multiple times. And, you know, over 57 times he's getting hit in the head. And that was my first time, obviously, understanding that. And then, of course, I know that you had a lot of references to the LA riots and to Rodney King and Reginald Denny from In Living Color, because, I mean, they made fun of that shit every day. Every sketch, there was a reference. You could not watch it and not see that. But, you know, in recent years, especially since Spike won that Oscar for Black Klansman, which was a great movie, but it wasn't outstanding, like talking about it. You know, there were people that walked away from it, was like, wasn't too impressed, but I thought it was a good movie. But I find that Spike has changed. And one of the things in Nicole's interview that she mentioned with, that was mentioned by Andrew Wyatt, was that most black actors and directors, in order for them to get a deal with Netflix, they had to throw Bill Cosby under the bus. And I think about that a little bit. You know, I look at all of the comedians that have a comedy special, like Dave Chappelle, although I think Dave Chappelle is great, and Chris Rock, and Spike Lee, of course, because he threw some shade at him. All of their movies are and comedy specials are on there. I mean, you have Spike Lee has a movie that's on there right now called The Five Bloods, about blacks in Vietnam. He also's got a movie. He also has School Days on there. He's had the She's Gotta Have It, as well as She's Gotta Have It, the TV series that was there. So Spike certainly, through, I believe, based off of that, yeah, that was true to the fact that he was throwing Bill Cosby under the bus. I hope y'all can hear me because hold on, let me louden it up a little bit. Sorry about that. Yeah, because I'm leaning back and forth in my chair, so my microphone's a little bit away from me. But yeah, as I was saying, Spike Lee was someone. Yeah, I've met Spike Lee before, and I can tell you just from meeting him, he kind of brushed. Even though we shook hands and I was talking to him for a few seconds, he kind of brushed me off and just directed me to his right-hand man at that time. And I got to talk to him, and he gave me just a fax number to give him information, give him any information that I had, because at that time I was actually trying to do research on my first book, which is why I got in touch with Spike Lee. But yeah, so earlier today, Spike Lee apologized for defending Woody Allen. And this is why I'm doing this video on Spike Lee, is because he comes off as a fucking hypocrite with this. How can you speak ill of Bill Cosby when Bill Cosby got the money for you to make Malcolm X? When Warner Brothers pulled funding right in the middle of the film, right in the middle of filming, Warner Brothers pulled funding, and Spike Lee had to scramble to get black celebrities behind him. So the first person he called was who? It was Bill Cosby. And then Bill Cosby helped to recruit, Michael Jordan. You had Prince actually giving money. You had Magic Johnson, Oprah Winfrey, Janet Jackson. And there's a few others who I'm sorry if I'm forgetting their names, but Bill Cosby did all of that, and then you throw him under the bus over fucking School Days, knowing good and well you guys shared the same casting director. That's why you had the actors and actresses that were in School Days were previously in a different world, or were currently in a different world at that time, because Jasmine Guy was in School Days. Kadeem Hardison was in School Days. I believe a few actors who have made one-time appearances there, like Tisha Campbell. She was in the classic HIV episode that won an Emmy. She was in that one. I can't think of who else, but that movie, at that time, and even overall, the HBCU experience is unique in and of itself, that multiple people can tell different stories. When Bill Cosby was doing A Different World, he probably thought of that by the time 1985 and 1986 had even arrived, when the third season of The Cosby Show was starting. It was probably in pre-production because he was trying to get Lisa Bonet a new series. And Spike at that time, like my friend Sean James and I have talked about this, Spike at that time was a little unknown director. He only had a student film, the We Cut Heads Barbershop, that he did out in Morehouse. That was his first short film. And then his major film was She's Gotta Have It in 1986. And he was filming the Mars Blackman, Michael Jordan commercials for Nike. Now, I don't even remember those, but I'm familiar with them from what I've seen lately, and, with the great advent of YouTube and from what people have told me. And there have been some old Spike Lee commercials back in the 90s I remember that he did. He was real popular back then. But here, he defends Woody Allen, and he defends Woody Allen, and he's against what we call cancel culture. But Bill Cosby was the biggest victim of cancel culture. Black men, in particular, through this Me Too movement, have been the scapegoats the whole entire time. And we need voices and those with clout to tell their truth. And Spike Lee should be on the forefront with this, because he's never been one that I know of that would shy from his opinion. But now that he has achieved, great success with winning that Oscar in Hollywood, that best adapted screenplay Oscar that he received, for Black Klansmen. You know, he's getting multiple deals with Netflix with the She's Gotta Have It series. And, I'm disappointed in this brother. I never really understood when I talked to some people about Malcolm X, some of our elders. Like, I spoke with Dr. Henry Johnson before. I've seen Dick Gregory before. They hated that movie, Malcolm X. And I didn't understand why, but the main reason was how they portrayed Malcolm from what Dick Gregory described, because they said they had that one scene where Malcolm is getting, his hair relaxed and he puts his head in the toilet. And Dick Gregory chewed Spike Lee out about that. Go look at the old YouTube clips. But Spike Lee, he put this tweet up. He said, "I deeply apologize. My words were wrong. I do not and will not tolerate sexual harassment, assault, or violence. Such treatment causes real damage that can't be minimized. Truly, Spike Lee." Now, what he was referring to, as I stated earlier, was when he was talking about Woody Allen. He said, "I'd just like to say Woody Allen is a great, great filmmaker, and this cancel thing is not just Woody." And I think when we look back on it, we're going to see that short of killing somebody, I don't know that you can just erase somebody like they never existed. Lee said on the show. He also noted that Allen is a fellow Knicks fan and is going through it right now. Now, my thing with that is this too. Speaking of the Knicks, remember Spike Lee got kicked out of the Knicks arena, out of Madison Square Garden, because he came through the wrong entrance. This happened earlier this year. He said he would never complete this season. He's not going back until next year. That he wouldn't come back this year, but he would come back next year. He actually said this on First Take. I remember hearing about this and seeing the clip. And, Spike, hey, if James Dolan, who's an asshole, is disrespecting you, then I probably would not even want to go back. Why would you keep giving them your tickets? Why would you keep giving them your money for their tickets when they disrespect you? You keep giving your money over and over again, and I think he said he spent somewhere in the millions, because these are courtside tickets. I've always suspected Woody Allen. Everybody suspected and knows Woody Allen's been a fucking perv. Scarlett Johansson has defended him. Countless other people have defended him. Even to a certain degree. I think Ronan Farrow has defended him, if I'm not mistaken. They're not calling for his arrest. Mia Farrow, I don't think recently has called for him to be arrested. And he married his damn someone that was, it wasn't his stepdaughter, but it was somebody basically who was in his household as a kid. So I'm going to go out on a limb and call her a stepdaughter, because that was his girl's daughter, and although they may have not been married, he played a role in raising that child. And now she's married to him. Now, nothing legally could have been done because it was all legit, but I remember when that caused a lot of waves throughout the tabloids, throughout the media, and in Hollywood. I'd be lying to you guys if I said I would never watch another Spike Lee film again. But I can tell you that this has made me question Spike Lee and where I feel about him right now. I thought he's mad wrong for this. I know Fajon Love has even called Spike Lee out over the Bill Cosby stuff, calling him, he called Spike Lee a house nigga because of what happened with Bill Cosby and how he didn't use his platform and voice to speak up for Bill. But there's no Black Hollywood. this proves it, because if there was a Black Hollywood, Spike Lee could say this and wouldn't give a damn about how his career would end up. That's where power is, when you can say something and not have to worry about when your next meal is going to come. Y'all got an issue with what I say, you can leave a comment. Please subscribe to the channel. But hey, it is what it is. This is my opinions. I stick to them. And with that being said, you guys be blessed and be safe this evening. If you don't agree with the comments, you can leave one. I'd ask you just to be respectful. I would also say, please donate to the channel, GavinRichardEsq at Cash App, as well as PayPal and Google Pay. I will have all of that listed for you. Guys, I'm out. Thank you.